Welcome again on the mini-course hosted by AVIATIONLAB, about EASA FTL temporary exemptions and FRM in COVID-19 in the recovery phase. Once again, I would like to invite you to join the AVIATIONLAB website at www.aviationlab.thinkific.com, where some of our quality courses are uploaded and available for distance learning. You could visit our website and have a quick preview of the courses. Moreover, now you could split the payment into 5 monthly payments of only €20. If you need bulk purchase for your company's needs, do not hesitate to contact us for special prices. When you complete any of those courses, a certification will be available for you. All those courses together with others are also available to be delivered in the classroom anywhere in the world. We could also provide you assistance to create your individual flight time specification scheme or to improve your safety management system from the prospect of fatigue risk management. Other channels that could reach us is Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. We are looking forward to meeting you. Do not forget to connect and follow to get more industry updates. In Part 3, we talk about risk assessment procedure. In this part we will go deeper into risk assessment and talk about safety performance monitor and important considerations on risk assessment. During the risk assessment, the operator should take into consideration and follow up the new emerge factors. A short list of considerations could be: business decisions might be taken under pressure. Financial pressure during the recovery phase may lead management to seize business opportunities, for example, charter flights, without a proper risk assessment, or to tolerate violations such as dispatch of flights with unserviceable equipment beyond the acceptable limits. The financial pressure generated by the prolonged grounding will require operators to implement significant cost reduction measures across their entire organization. However, operators should consider their management systems as an essential enabler of the overall recovery strategy, as operations may resume with a combination of weakened safety barriers and increased risks. Serious incidents or accidents during the recovery phase may put the operator's survival at risk. Change of operational model could require structural and holistic changes within the operator. The changes might include changes at persons, at the procedures, at operators' manuals, and other. The operator should establish safety relative procedures that respond at the scale, the scope, and the structure of the operator. An extremely complicated procedure that involves many persons on a small and lean operator could have a negative effect. Moreover, change in business from passenger to cargo, or from schedule to charter might alter activity hours from daytime to night hours. Staff reductions might reduce the available resources for specific tasks, could lead to the transfer of tasks to inexperienced persons, could increase the workload of individuals, and most probably will lead to increased stress and feeling of insecurity among the staff. Fleet reductions, changes, or rapid increase could lead to rapid changes in the workload among various departments, but most importantly, under the scope of this course, at safety, compliance, and flight operation department. Any change should take place coordinated, and available human resources and man-hour planning should be ensured. More delays due to airspace restrictions, degraded or unavailable air navigation services, and limitations in aerodrome services may also force the operator to conduct flights in an unfamiliar operational context. Procedures and restrictions could change overnight, so a chaste monitor of such changes should be ensured to avoid surprises and to keep risks within the scenario. Risk assessment scenarios should be created including buffers for unforeseen circumstances and clear limits that delimit the validity of the scenario. Short-term contracts might increase pressure at the safety department to produce a greater than usual output. Independently of the duration of contact, the safety should always be ensured and weighted on decisions. Quality of safety department output could be ensured only through ensuring that the required resources are provided. Changes in the everyday life of staff are also be taken into consideration, especially those that could affect fatigue. The most common could be barriers at transportation to and from the reporting point. Closed schools, a partner that starts to work from home, an ill person within a family, or a relative that needs assistance and special care could also affect the normal way of life for a crew member. Sanitary procedures and requirements that have been implemented from government, airports, hotels, the airline itself, or other organizations could increase fatigue, create delays, push for new procedures, and create pressure on frontline staff. During this period, don't forget that staff works under pressure. Most staff will return to duty with a certain level of psychological stress, and operators should evaluate the need to provide targeted support in specific cases. Frontline staff may not feel fit for the duties but be willing to go the extra mile to support their organization. Traditional human factor issues, such as distraction, can be exacerbated by COVID-19 related concerns and lead to slips, lapses, and mistakes impacting critical actions, such as lowering the landing gear or arming and disarming the door slides. The perceived pressure may also lead crews and maintenance personnel to accept cutting corners to avoid costly delays and flight cancellations. Financial pressure may also interfere with sound decision-making in various contexts. Flight crews may avoid to request extra fuel or refrain from performing a go-around when the situation dictates. Maintenance staff may overlook required actions, while striving to avoid a delayed departure. Frontline staff may believe that deviations from the SOPs are justified in the context of the crisis. The risks induced by fatigue may also be increased, as operations may stretch flight duty periods to the limits, possibly in combination with reduced rest times. Just culture principles may be at stake, due to fear that in times of crisis, mistakes may be treated as willful misconduct. EASA considers that the operator's safety management system and compliance monitoring functions play an essential role in managing the risks associated with the gradual recovery of air operations. With passengers in the challenging context created by the COVID-19 crisis, and in ensuring a safe return to normal operations. As we are mentioned before, some of the main factors that could affect the fatigue risk management process are the lack of previous experience and lack of data. Even for the same as before route, with the same crew and the same roster, other factors could have been changed. The operator should understand that under current operational conditions, previous risk assessments most probably are outdated. The operator's safety performance monitoring and measurement processes are key to assess safety levels during NO and provide an indication of whether the management system is delivering as expected. In such challenging circumstances, the coordinated functioning of the operational, safety, and compliance monitoring organizational units is essential. Effective decision-making relies upon the collection of qualitative and quantitative safety information that indicates whether operations are being conducted at the accepted level of safety. Appropriate feedback needs to reach the operator's senior management, as the accountable manager is ultimately responsible for ensuring that safety remains within the boundaries that were deemed to be tolerable when endorsing the risk assessments. Safety surveys may be used to collect feedback on new or adapted operations during the restart phase. Such feedback should assure that the activities achieve the expected safety levels and help in the identification of possible improvements, feeding the HIRA process, and closing the loop. Safety audits are also a valid tool to monitor the implementation of actions taken to mitigate risks. The safety and compliance monitoring functions should use these audits to be proactive in hazard identification, to validate the suitability of established mitigation measures, or to propose other mitigations for consideration. Operators should either plan ad hoc safety audits for the most critical operations performed during the recovery phase or include additional verifications in the scope of its prioritized compliance. Monitoring activities. Metrics are essential to identify potential areas for additional attention and for monitoring the effectiveness of various fatigue management approaches, including fatigue risk management system processes. These metrics, also known as safety performance indicators, are reviewed by the Fatigue Safety Action Group or operators equivalent, to identify fatigue hazards in the operation for risk assessment, mitigation, and monitoring. They may also play a role in the monitoring of mitigations and unintended consequences. It is important to look at a variety of metrics rather than relying on a single measure to gain a comprehensive overview of the impact of fatigue within your operation. Proactive measures to identify hazards will be needed in rapidly changing operating circumstances since our current data will take time to build up. From classic and established metrics, the operator should focus on the metrics that could provide results quickly and effectively. On other metrics, the results should be approached differently than before. A recommended approach is to focus mainly on crew reports, FDM analysis, and roster analysis. Crew reports are very important as could give information instantly from the real users of the roster. Crew member reports about fatigue-related challenges, events, and incidents are critical to keeping the carrier informed about fatigue hazards in day-to-day operations within their specific operations. Effective fatigue reporting systems must be implemented within an effective reporting culture. Protective measures that protect the confidentiality and anonymity of the data need to be in place. Individuals who have access to the reporting system should clearly understand how the data is collected, why the data is being collected, how it will be analyzed, and how the results and corrective actions will be implemented within the organization. Compliance with submitting fatigue reports will potentially be higher and more beneficial to the operator with the use of a fatigue report form that is clearly worded, easy to access, easy to complete, and easy to submit. The trick is to ensure that just culture is established within the organization. The first step is to perform a sleep fatigue survey to determine how COVID-19 has affected the crew members. Acting predictively, the operator could collect data from crew members regarding the usual time of falling asleep and awake, sleeping hours, number of sleep distractions other than work required, sleep quality, self-evaluation of performance, for example, feels sleepy in the morning, feels sleepy early in the noon, Other factors that have affect sleep and fatigue. There is a great probability that stress and changes in their normality have negative effects on sleep and fatigue, but those data could be used to optimize roster, evaluate risks, and provide training and suggested countermeasures. The other category of crew reporting is reactive. During this period, and especially for new or unscheduled routes, the operator should ask from the crew members to complete a survey about sleep and fatigue on every flight. Some of the questions could be about sleep duration the last night, sleep duration the last 72 hours, sleep deprivations the days before, feel of sleepiness or fatigue at the beginning of the flight, feel of sleepiness or fatigue on each flight stage, like the top of climb, on cruise intervals, top of descent, approaching, landing, sleepiness and fatigue after rest opportunity with augmented crew members. These data are essential especially when you need to evaluate ultra-long routes under FTL exceptions, with an augmented crew and rest opportunity on board. The survey form should be anonymous, easy to fill, prefer instant fill rather than call back after the flight if there is not affects the safety of the flight. The questionnaire could be embedded within the flight bag or smartphone. Feel free to contact AVIATIONLAB to assist you with the creation and the analysis of fatigue reports. The results of these surveys could be evaluated in relationship to the FDM analysis. An example here is the increase of unstable approaches reported by EASA. The data shows deviations from normal flight operations, and that helps us identify potential areas of concern in flight safety, as airline operations grow again after COVID-19. By comparing an unstable approach with roster, fatigue reports, and time of event could provide useful information. Lastly, roster analysis could include metrics like captain's discretion, usage of FTL exceptions, usage of rest period on board, number of minimum rest periods per month as a percentage of all the rest period, number of extended flight duty periods for a specific pairing, percentage of sectors on which controlled rest was used, reserve call-out as a percentage of all duties and monthly utilization, days or hours of in-advance notification for duty and overtime usage. Again, the results could be evaluated in comparison with FDM reports and crew fatigue reports.